embarrassed that Thomas Jefferson, the hero who wrote that all men are created equal, the author of our Declaration of Independence, we are embarrassed that he was a slave owner. But no ancient Hebrew was embarrassed that Job was a slave owner. They thought it a sign of God's favor. Of course, we have as much trouble today upholding our values as did our ancestors. But today's standards are higher than they were then. Our values today have advanced and improved. Job's friends, shocked at the terrible events that have afflicted him, tell Job that he and his relatives must have sinned to deserve this punishment. Job confidently tells his friends that he and his family are innocent. His friends try to comfort Job by telling him that God's purposes are hard to understand, but that they must be good. Just as we would, Job finds this explanation hard to accept. Although he asks God for an explanation, Job never criticizes God. God wins the bet. Job is one of world literature's great examples of dramatic irony, the literary device by which the audience knows things that the actors do not. We know that Job's sufferings have nothing to do with great and inscrutable cosmic purposes. We know that Job is innocent. We know that the discussion between Job and his friends is interesting but irrelevant. God has allowed the devastation of Job's life and the slaughter of all those innocent people to settle what is little more than a barroom bet. As God says to the Satan, "You incited me to ruin him without a cause." Is God ashamed by the suffering that he has allowed? Not at all. When he finally appears to Job, does he tell Job the truth? He does not. He could have said to Job, "I'm sorry about the damage and the suffering that I allowed to happen to you, your family, and your servants. It was essential to my plan for the world. There was no other way. Because of your help, all humans now have a shining example of how to bear inevitable, undeserved suffering. Thank you for your help. I'm proud of you. Your name will live forever." This would have been the truth, and Job might even have felt that his suffering had served some purpose. Instead, God evades the issue by bombast and indirection. Setting up a straw man, he asks Job, "Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth?" He incorrectly implies that Job's suffering had some great cosmic purpose too complicated for Job to understand. Job, conceding defeat, says, "But I have spoken of great things which I have not understood, things too wonderful for me to know." Evidently, if God is in charge of things, we cannot rely upon him to make sure that our lives, sometimes filled with pain and suffering, have meaning. His inscrutable purposes may be far beyond us, or he may be playing with us, or he may be tormenting us. Dr. Zacharias asserts that the Christian God has Christians' welfare in mind, but the evidence of our lives provides little to support this view. I would say that the universe has no purpose. It is absurd to think that a creator assembled this universe so large and so old for some purpose involving us, an insignificant part of this immense universe. All ideas about cosmic purpose that I know about are speculation without credible evidence to support them. When we consider buying a used car, we kick the tires, slam the doors, test drive it, ask an expert mechanic to study the engine, and ask for the repair records. If we can, we investigate the reputation of the seller. Since all human knowledge is imperfect, we may still make a mistake. We would not take the manufacturer's or the salesman's word on faith. Reason, observation, and experiment, limited as they are our best methods for approaching the truth about any subject, not revelation. Why would we apply different and frequently discredited methods to the incomparably more important questions of life's meaning? In the words of Ronald Reagan, trust but verify. Here is my answer to Dr. Zacharias' challenge for a naturalist source of meaning. Purpose and meaning are not properties of the universe in the way that mass and energy are properties of the universe. There were no such things as purpose and meaning in the universe so far as we know until our ancestors, emerging onto the African savanna, developed consciousness. Purpose and meaning are our creation, your creation. They are our glory and our tragedy. Even those who attribute the source of our moral ideas to one God or another may agree that these gods' purposes are so distant from our own that it comes to the same thing whether you believe or not. Here is what I believe. Each of us is responsible for the private and the public meanings of our own lives, insofar as we can control our fate and foresee the consequences of our actions. As one of your admirable neighbors, Jimmy Carter, once said, life is unfair.
The question of Job and the meaning and purpose of life. Ravi Zacharias first, and then other panelists.
Who wrote the book of Job?
No one knows who wrote it.
Then how do you know he didn't?
Job?
Yeah.
Job's the subject. There was some poet who wrote, I'll tell you what scholars think. The beginning and end part, which are in prose, are from some ancient story. The central part, the poetry part, was written by some wonderful and great poet. A third person stuck in the fourth person, Elihu. They think the great Job poet didn't write him. And the book itself has been edited by scribes, and there are even parts of the text now which are corrupt, and the wrong person says the wrong lines. That, as far as we know, that's what we know about it.
So if you don't know...
We don't know the author.
What are you critiquing if you don't know what's real and what isn't?
This story is one of the most wonderful, famous books within the most important book in Western civilization. It's there because, according to the religious men who assembled that book, it expressed what to them was a great truth. And no one's, are you proposing we remove it from the Bible?
No, I'm asking you the question. I don't believe what you do, but you're just telling me scholars think not all of it is actually authentic. Some's been corrupted, some's been edited, some's been added.
All we have is the text before us.
Yeah, but is it an authentic text or an inauthentic text? Because if your critique is valid, you must be critiquing a valid text.
I came here as a physicist and cited things from your book. It's your book.
No, not your version. Not your version. Not your version. Okay, let me ask you a couple more questions.
Did I use the wrong translation?
Your translation says it's corrupt.
I use the New American Bible. It's a modern translation.
I'm not asking what version. I'm talking about the source criticism you've just ascribed to it. Yes. So if it is not an authentic source of what I would see it as truly part of God's Word, but you're saying there's corruption and this and that, but let me ask you the next question.
You mean you think that there are words in the Hebrew and Bible and the Gospels that are inauthentic?
No, you do.
I think it's a work of literature, so to me it's not a problem whether it's authentic or not. It's just a work of literature written by people.
I'll pose a couple of questions and then I'll let Dr. Craig go to this too. I highly recommend you read it properly. I'll tell you why. Have you read any other reference to Job in the Bible?
Yes, in John he refers to the patience of Job.
No, it's not in John. It's in James.
Well, okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
What's the context?
I'm not an expert in this.
What's the context?
I don't know.
I think you should. I'll tell you why.
But he obviously misreads it, since Job was not patient.
Well, your criticism was, yes, Dr. Lycan, that he was not affirmed, that he was not lauded for what he went through, that he was not given the accolades that God should have met with him and applauded him.
Didn't even
and
tell
I'd
him
like
the truth.